Hi, my name's Deke Adams. I cover Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana for Land Pride. We are in the field and your no-till drill has just been delivered for your first use. A couple things I'd like to go over just to make sure that you're ready for a good seeding experience. Once the drill is delivered and has been lowered into field position, please make sure that your tongue and your boxes are level to the ground. That way everything's running in conjunction and we don't have to worry about a nose forward or a nose backwards attitude. So once we've accomplished this, the drill has been preset at the dealership to be at the optimal depth for the Coulters, so don't worry about adjustment there. I want to make sure that we understand the seed rate and the seed rate adjustment. Fill your box with seed. Find in the owner's manual the seed that you are going to put in the ground and see what the rate is you'd like to put in the field. From there, they're going to ask for a drive type setting and a seed cup adjustment rate setting. The drive type setting is going to be set on the gearbox. There's 4 different drives, and then the seed cup opening is set on the handle adjustment on the inside of the box. Find the pounds per acre, find the drive type setting and the opening of the seed cup, and that will be your starting point. From there, go through the calibration process to make sure that the correct amount of seeds, pounds per acre, will be planted. From there, we want to make sure that our openers are adjusted to the proper depth. This is accomplished on the double disc opener. The double disc opener main box seed drops through the tube down into the double disc opener and is delivered to the ground in the furrow. This depth is controlled by the T handle on the press wheel. This is this handle here. The T handle in the all the way back position is the deepest setting, all the way in the forward position is the shallowest setting. These adjustments can be made by moving the T handle from hole to hole. Each setting, or each hole represents about 1/4 of an inch of depth adjustment, or you can walk them side to side for about 1/8 of an inch adjustment. So this can be easily accomplished by moving the handle. As you can see, that's the deepest setting. That would let the double disc opener ride all the way up to this setting and be very deep in the ground, or you can move it all the way forward and that would be a shallower setting. So the big ones for me when I go to set my drill is to make sure, number 1, it's level, number 2, I know what my seed rate's going to be and that it's accurate, and number 3, I get my depth correct. Once we start the drill in the field, bring it up to speed, 4 or 5 miles an hour, stop, leave the drill in the ground, go back, dig up your seed, make sure it's in the correct position. If you need to readjust the depth, you can do that again through the press wheel. From there, you should be good to go. I was asked to come out and kind of go through the operation of the machine as if it was delivered to your farm. So we'll kind of start as if the machine just rolled off the truck from Jennings with the tractor on it, kind of what I would want to see. For those of you that are going online or are reading the owner's manual, there's a lot of really specific stuff that you probably don't need to worry about. From Jennings, it's going to come fairly well leveled out. All the adjustments are going to be made for the average setting. So the real specific clutch adjustments, some of that thing you're going to read about or see, don't worry about it. It'll all be taken care of in the pre-delivery stage of this. The big one, and we've talked about it earlier, if you're going to rent the drill or use the drill, when you contact either Pierce Conservation District or Jennings, give them the drawbar height of your tractor if you could, which is going to be the measurement from the bottom of the drawbar of the tractor. There are about 4 different settings that we can set up. And that way when the drill is delivered, the hitch will be in the right position, so the drill will be leveled and we'll be able to start off on a real easy start there. So this is the way it's going to come delivered. It's in the up position. The transport locks are in place, locking out the cylinders. So if there is a failure on the hydraulics or a leak or something like that, you will not have to worry about the drill coming down. So I'm gonna have Andy. Andy works with Jennings equipment. If you have any questions on the tractor side or that, Andy will help you out. But Andy's gonna jump in. We're gonna start the tractor, bring the drill up, take the transport locks out, and kind of start the program here. When you initially receive the drill, I would say that you want to lift the drill up. Go ahead and lift it all in the way in the up position and hold the hydraulics for about 10 seconds in the up position. What that's going to do is rephase the cylinders. There's 2 cylinders, they're in a loop. If there's air in the system or something happens, the drill will want to lean down on one side or the other, not in conjunction with the other. When you hold the hydraulics in the position to where it's phasing them up, for about 10 seconds. It rephases the cylinders and they work in conjunction again. So on each delivery, I would like to see the person that's going to use it next rephase the cylinder so everything's working. That way, when you lower it the field position, you don't get one side higher than the other, and it's going to work in a real level situation there. So go ahead and sit all the way up. So to start, you're going to pull the transport locks out, and there is a storage up front. So this is the way the drill is going to come in off the tractor, off the truck. I'm going to say at this point we've rephased the cylinders. So the biggest things now to look for is we want to drop this thing into field position, which is going to be on the ground. So you want to start it in the field, not on the driveway, because you're actually going to sink the coulters into the ground a little bit. So go ahead and lower it down, Andy. And when you get this drill at home or on the farm, you're actually going to want to pull it ahead 15, 20 feet so the coulters do suck into the ground a little bit. So at this point, the couple things that we're looking for just on initial inspection will be the tongue and the boxes. So if the tongue is running level and the boxes are running level, we're in a good position. In the owner's manual, you'll see that they want a height of 24 3/4 inches from the toolbar down. It's at 25 now, it's in a good spot. It's going to come out, as long as we know what your drawbar height is, it's going to be in about this position. It's going to be ready to go. The biggest issue with this is that's going to set the coulters at a height or a depth below where you're going to be planting the seed. The coulter, you're typically going to run 1/2 inch to 1 inch below where you're planting the seed, because the coulter's doing the work of splitting the ground, opening it up, fluffing the soil so that the opener can come in behind and plant the seed. So if on the other side, there's a cylinder just like this. There's a striker plate with a pin. That actually stops the hydraulics. That's how you set the depth. If you find that the coulters are not going deep enough, you can take that striker plate and move it down, and that will lower the entire machine. It's on the other side if you want to take a look at it. So at this point, we've brought the drill into the field. We've leveled it up. You can see this is the striker plate I'm talking about. If there is any adjustment that needs to be made for the coulter depth, this is where it's going to be made. It's just a bolt and a nut. Drop it down just a little bit, and that's going to control your toolbar height and where the hydraulics stop. I'm going to say that probably about 90% of the time you're not going to have to worry about this. I probably wouldn't mess with it. The other things you're going to see in the owner's manual, it's going to talk about how your clutch engages and disengages. We've preset that. You don't need to mess with it. The other thing they talk about is the Coulter individual adjustment. This machine is really set to control a lot of these adjustments across the machine in tandem, in unison. There's really no need for anybody to drop a Coulter any deeper. It's going to be set across the whole machine. So the machine looks a lot more intimidating than it really is. I mean, there's about 3 things you need to worry about. I want to make sure it's level. Once we get the seed in it, I want to make sure that we get the right seed rate on and calibrate it, and then the depth of the openers. I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, that's about all it is. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, but they all work together, and if we do a good job of getting it out to you, you won't have to worry about the individual pieces of it. So now we've got it in the field. We've got everything kind of leveled out the way we want it. The next step, let me back up just a little bit. We've got a lockout hub. When we go to the field position, we put it in the lowest setting. That engages the drive system that comes up the leg and drives the seed cup openers. When we go to the calibration phase, which we're going to do now, we do disengage this, and we go to a seed calibration handle that is located on the drill, and we put it on the jack shaft to calibrate the drill. So at this point, we're disengaged on the ground drive, but we're going to hand crank it here. So WSU, from what I understand, has got a lot of the calibrations done from their smaller drill, so they might be able to share that information if you're using a lot of the same seeds. As far as the owner's manual has a seed chart, and the seed chart is an average weight, average seed size. So depending on how critical it is for you to get exactly the amount of seed on that you want, there's a calibration process, and I'll run through real quickly what that looks like. There's 2 ways of doing it, either across the whole machine or just a couple openers. At this point, we went through and disconnected a couple of the seed tubes that comes from the main box and that delivers the seed down below into the double disc opener. We've disconnected that so that we can calibrate the seed. So what we've done is we've filled the seed box over the openers. We've attached the crank. 99 1/2 turns on that crank simulates 1/10 of an acre. And so what we've done is we will catch 2 tubes, 3 tubes, whatever you want to do, and you weigh that out divide it by the 2, so you know what came out of each one, and then multiply it by the number of openers, which is 9 on this machine. Then you know what the actual seed rate is per pounds that you would have taken out for an acre. So, like I say, the seed chart is accurate, but it is an average. So, you know, seed treatments, seed size, all that translates into different seeding rates. So it could be off 10, 20, 30%. So if you really want to make sure that you when you get the machine, you want to really know where you're at, calibrate it one time. That way, you know, I do suggest that you do that. So the seed crank is here, and it's going to run the jack shaft. The clutch is engaged because when you are in field position, it's a jaw clutch. It will engage itself, and as you turn a corner or lift the drill, it will disengage itself. And you go the 99 1/2 revolutions. You can see the seeds actually coming out of the seed cup. Catch it and do the calibration that we were talking about. Once you've calibrated, so we've gone through the process of getting the drill, got it leveled up or where we want to be. We're going to remove the handle. It's just a pin there. Then we're going to engage the seed drive, and what that is, you can see it's not dropping down in. It's a slotted hole that drops down into the drive, so it'll actually turn once and then it'll lock itself in. So that's the next step. So we've gone to putting the seed in, we're calibrated, we know where we're going. Now we need to know kind of how we calibrate the seed. How do we get a starting point? It's pretty well laid out in the seed chart. If you're using whatever it is, you look at how many pounds you're wanting to put on, and it'll tell you drive type 1, drive type 2, drive type 3, or 4. This is all just just a gearbox. So you put it in the drive type, and then it'll tell you a number of what it wants to see on the slide. The easier one to see is probably this one back here. And it tells you, I want number 50 on the slide. You loosen a wing nut and you go past the number you want and bring it back to it and lock it down. And what's that is showing you is the percentage of the opening of the seed cup. We recommend through the 4 drive types, the drive types basically it speeds up, so it almost doubles every time you do it. So if you want to put higher rates on, you'll see that it'll increase the rates. We like to see the seed cups open somewhere between 20 and 80%. That way you're showing a good portion of the seed cup. If you've got it down in the 10% range, there's a lot of opportunity for error because it's picking up, you know, more seed and turning faster or less seed. So if we can run it between 20 and 80, find a drive type that has the pounds per acre that you like and put it in there, and then start the drill in that direction. Then do your calibrations and see where it's really at, and then you can adjust it up and down. So really, I'm going to guess that 90% of you guys that use this will either use the main seed box, which is for your little bit larger seeds, or your small seed boxes, which is for your real small grass seeds. The only difference in the 2 boxes really is the size of the seed cup. You're just going to accurately meter the smaller seeds a little bit better than having the bigger cup that's going to pick up more seed at a time. Those are adjusted same. It's going to tell you what box it is in the owner's manual and what drive type, and they work in conjunction. So if you want to put 2 different seeds down at the same time, you can. The middle box is a native grass box. It is for a real fluffy bearded seed. It's got a very aggressive pickup in it, and it's got a very aggressive agitator in it. So it pushes the seed down and has a pickup that picks the seed up out and drops it through. So once we've gone through the calibration and the seed rate part, we're basically ready to go to the field. Everything should be set in a position where we need it on the Coulter side. The next thing we need to worry about is the actual opener itself. We call this the seed opener, the double disc opener. And what you've got is you've got 2 discs that form a nose, and they go into the furrow that the Coulter has created. And then the main seed box has a seed tube that goes right to the bottom of that double disc opener. So the depth is going to be controlled with the relationship of the press wheel to the double disc opener. And that is simply controlled with this block. It's a 1/4 inch adjustment from hole to hole, or an 1/8 of an inch adjustment walking it side to side. All the way forward is the shallowest setting, all the way back is the deepest setting. And once you get going in the field, it's pretty easy. I'd like to, if you're using grasses and the real small seeds, you're going to start it way up towards the front. If you're going with a legume or something like that, you'll need, you know, an inch or 1.5 inches of depth on. You're going to move it towards the back. But you can see the relationship that it gives you with the block versus, you know, up front. So now that the drill's in the up position, it's a little bit easier to see the opener itself. So as you can see, that's the travel of the press wheel. So that would be your deepest setting. The relationship here is about 0. Once I move it all the way back, you're probably in that 2-inch, 2.5-inch depth, I would think. So I'm gonna put this up into about the first benchmark, which is about the 4th hole in. And that should give us a kind of a good starting point. So I'm gonna do that. Obviously, once you make an adjustment on the drill, you do it the same across the entire drill. What I like to see done is start in the field, run up to ground speed or field speed, 4 or 5 miles an hour, have everything running, stop, leave the drill in the ground, go back, back where it's created the furrow, and get in there and see where the seed's at, see where the depth is. Then you can adjust it up and down from that position. If you're running multiple seeds, the small seed box has got a drop tube that is just in front of the press wheel, so it's going to be right in the top eighth inch of the soil. The other one obviously is going to follow more of where the double disc opener is at. If you're running 2 seeds, obviously you're going to put your smaller seeds that you want towards the top and the back, and your bigger seeds in the front box. So that's really the easiest way to get things rolling. The seed mechanism itself, everything will be set from Jennings as far as where we want, the drill level and all that. For the Coulters to work properly, go ahead, sorry. I was to say, for the Coulters to work properly, you want to be in that 4 or 5 mile an hour range so it's turning and working its way into the ground. And there's no adjustments there that you need to worry about. You'll see that there's a spring on it and all that. That's all preset. You don't need to worry about any of that. On the side of the seed cup itself, there's a little lever, and that controls the throat that accommodates the seed roll. So in order not to crack the pea, it's going to have to probably go into the 2nd or 3rd setting, so it opens up the throat so that when the pea goes through it and it meters the seed out, that it doesn't crack it against the bottom throat. So you need to obviously go with the larger seed size to get the average for that, so you're not cracking the seed. So the first setting is going to be your cereal grains and smaller seeds. Then as you get bigger seeds, the legumes, you'll go to a bigger one. If you go to the 4th setting, that's the clean out setting. That opens it all the way up, and that lets everything flow out of the box, so don't go there until you're done. The biggest initial setup is making sure everything's level. And the reason being is if you're in a nose forward attitude, you're obviously putting the openers in a bad position where it's trying to bury the nose of the opener. You're not getting a real good accurate seed depth on it, and you're not getting any press on the press wheel. The other function of this piece here is not only depth control, but it's giving you a good firm press in that seed in the soil to get air pockets out of there, but give you a good seed to soil contact as well. And then a nose back attitude, if the boxes are like this, you're putting all the weight on the press wheels, and you're not getting the penetration that you want on the openers. You can actually put so much pressure on the back wheel that your Coulters won't penetrate the ground. The other thing that we need to cover is when you're running the drill, the Coulters are on a flat bar and they don't swivel. So when you're running the drill in the field, you've got to pick up on the ends and turn around and then drop it back down. You can't turn with the drill in the ground because those Coulters they're not going to give, and they're going to either break or bend, one of the two. Yes, yes. So on the farm when I was a kid, we called it the headlands. You got to farm out the headlands. You go to the end and then you can cross it, on the end if that's the way you choose. But it's not a contouring drill. So you've got from here to here before the seed moves to the double disc opener. So you've got a window of probably 6 feet, 7 feet before that seed starts to get into the ground. So you're going to want to accommodate for that, or like I said, we can headland. So if you start here, but you've got that big row, you can hit it the other way and plant that out. So you have to accommodate for that little bit of just the retard of the startup because of the seed dropping.
You drop it down.
What's that?
That's every time you start it up. And like if you pick it up, do a corner,
yeah,
put it back down,
yeah,
then you take off.
And that's a good point too. When you stop, so let's say you come to a hard stop in a field, and you come up and you stop and that drill's left in that position, wherever you stopped, whatever seed's in that tube is going to drop in that tube into that opener. So if you start to see your seed germinate later in a couple weeks later, and you start to see a lot of seed right at the end, that's where you stopped and all that seed dropped down. So if you can feather it out and start to lift that thing up out of the ground as you start to come out of the end of the field, it'll leave that seed, the inner row spacing will be a lot better for sure. But conversely, when you start, it's going to take a little bit to start up. It's pretty well built. The one thing I would say is don't back up with it. If you back up with it, you're going to plug everything on this known to man. It's just going to pick dirt up into the openers. Everything is meant to drive in one direction, and when you go the other direction, it's not easy on it. And I think this thing has a ratcheting clutch, so the actual drive mechanism itself will turn backwards. On the 3-point drills, they don't. And so if you take like that drill there, and we had this situation in a vineyard that was really steep, they get into the position to start, they drop the drill, engage the clutch on the tractor. It was a gear drive. It would roll backwards a little bit, then go. They were breaking seed cups, and we just couldn't figure out why it was doing it. And that little bit of backwards momentum was what was doing it. This drill won't have that problem because it does have a ratcheting clutch. It'll take care of itself, but that's just go forward. The backwards, it's not going to work really very well. The question is, how much of a mat can we deal with? A lot of it depends on what the mat is. If it's dry straw, it'll cut through it and it'll fracture it. This here, I mean, we pulled it up in this spot here. I don't know, we can see it here. The Coulter sucked right in. We're turning black dirt. It's fine. The real big issue, and you guys won't run into it, is if a mower went through or a combine went through and it laid down a mat of chaff and is detached, that Coulter has to fight through that, and it just can't get through it. So if it's spread out nice and even across the field, and it's you'll know right away once you put the Coulter in the ground and roll forward. If it cuts into the ground and you can get into the dirt, you're in good shape. More of the issue when it gets real wet is you'll get the Coulter into the ground and the double disc will get into the ground, but you can't close it back up, because it's just staying wide open. And then as soon as it dries out, your seed's exposed, and you're not going to have any germination, or if you do, it's going to be short-lived. Trying to think of any other conditions. The hair pinning, and it's going to be more of a wheat and barley and corn stalk issue, which you guys aren't going to probably run into much of, is if you get a real heavy mat of straw, if you can leave it standing, that's great. It'll go right through it, no problem, because you're not fighting it. If that mat is laying over, that Coulter is trying to cut through it, and if there's more than it can cut through, it'll start to hairpin, and that meaning that it'll crimp that straw. Then you lay the seed on top of straw, not in the dirt, and you're never going to get any germination. With this piece being so close to the tractor as you are running it, as I'm looking back on the drill, I want to make sure that I see the jack shaft running to here, and I want to see this chain moving, and I want to see this chain moving. If they're moving, that means the seed cups are going and everything's good. I've had
running out of seed.
Running out of seed. That's going to be a you problem. You need to make sure it's full. The other thing is too. Oh yeah. I mean,
I don't know when it happens. So.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a seed indicator here, but all that thing is just a foam piece that sits on top. So as it starts getting down in this area, the other thing is too is if you're running circles or you're on a hill, that seed will migrate, especially if you're doing legumes. That seed will want to migrate to the low side. So if you can make sure you're kind of swapping the direction you're going, but if you start to see a low seed setting and you're on a hill or you've been going one direction, I would get in there and make sure that I shuffle the seed back over each opener, because it will migrate enough that it's going to seed out on one side than the other. And I've had that question on the service side a lot is, hey, my drill's seeding heavier on one side than the other. And then I go out and watch the operation. The guy's going around and around and around on a hill, and it's all going to one side. It's just the nature of the gravity seed going downhill. So when we're done in the field with the drill, and I don't know what the agreement is as far as cleaning the mud up and all that kind of stuff, but as far as the internal parts and pieces of the drill, we want to raise the drill up to the top stroke again, put the transport locks back in so that the drill's supported, obviously being safe and making sure that if we lose hydraulics, we're not going to drop on anything. If there is seed left in the boxes, the clean out position is at the bottom, and the seed will flow right through. And I would say at that point, if you want to save the seed, obviously, put a tarp underneath it and catch all the seed, and then you can put it back in the bag. And that would be the easiest way to do it. And then you're pretty much at that point ready to go. A lot of guys on the bigger drills that we've used in the past, they'll get in there with a little hand vac, little wet dry vac, and vacuum out what little seeds left. And that's just a common a courtesy thing. I mean, I'd like to go up and shake each one of the seed tubes as they're corrugated. There is seed that hangs up. I wouldn't want to be the guy that used the seed next and I'm planting rye and a bunch of clover pops out in my first planting. So Just as much as you can get cleaned out of it, the better. The question is, how do we make sure we don't cross-contaminate from one farm to the next?
I can provide a recommendation. I don't know how you want to execute this, but we've looked into this too. Like I mentioned, we borrowed a piece of equipment from Oxbow Farm, and we've gone to other farms. So what we'd recommend is very good. You want to clean in terms of getting the dirt off. And then once you get all the dirt off and everything's clean, you could do that maybe with a pressure washer also to get some of the hard to reach places. And then just a dilute Clorox spray, with just a spray and spray that and let it dry. That's kind of the recommendation for.
And that's basically going to be on all the ground engaging pieces, correct?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the clean part. Like I would look, wherever you have dirt.
Yeah.
And you want to get the dirt off, and then just do that extra step to kind of get the the disinfestation. What's that? Air compressor for the seed boxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get club root, kind of up in here, but.
And I would say when you're cleaning the boxes, I would not run water through the main boxes.
No.
You're going to make a mess of things. Plus, it'll start to germinate seed.